She looked at me too long that afternoon. Not in a way anyone else would notice, but I did. Her gaze held, a fraction longer than it should have, before she turned back to the folder in her hands. I'd been working under her for 6 months, and in that time, I'd memorized every rhythm of her presence. The way her heels clicked with certainty across the office floor, the slight curve of her lips when she approved something, the measured calm she carried even when the rest of us scrambled. She was my boss, and she carried herself like one, older, composed, unreachable. And yet, when I spoke, she listened differently. As if my words lingered in the air longer than anyone else's. That day, it was just the two of us. The others had gone for the evening, leaving behind the soft hum of the air conditioner, and the faint smell of coffee that had gone cold hours ago. I was packing up my desk when she stepped into the open doorway. "You're still here," she said, her voice low even. I turned. She leaned against the frame, one arm crossed under the other, holding a folder to her chest. Her blouse was slightly undone at the collar, not careless, but human. I realized I'd been staring too long at the detail, because her lips curved faintly, almost amused. "I was finishing up the draft," I muttered. My voice sounded younger than I wanted. She nodded, stepping further inside. The room felt smaller with her in it. She set the folder on the desk beside me, close enough that her perfume brushed against my skin, something subtle, like jasmine after rain. For a moment neither of us spoke. The silence pressed in, thick but not uncomfortable. Her fingers trailed along the edge of the desk, then brushed lightly against the back of my hand where it rested on the wood. It was the smallest contact, accidental maybe. But my breath hitched, and I know she noticed. Her eyes lifted to mine, calm but searching. "You work too hard," she said softly. Her tone wasn't stern. It wasn't the voice of a boss. It was gentler, almost personal. I wanted to answer, but my throat felt dry. So I just nodded. My hand didn't move, though. It stayed there, where hers had nearly touched it. Something passed between us, a pause heavy and full. Her eyes lingered, then darted away as she reached for the folder again, as if to distract herself. But when her fingers brushed mine a second time, this time I knew it wasn't by mistake. My pulse thudded. I didn't step back. "You remind me," she began, then stopped. She closed the folder, lips pressed together, as though she'd nearly confessed something and thought better of it. "What?" I asked. My voice came out too quickly, too eager. She shook her head, giving me the faintest smile. "Nothing." But her eyes stayed on mine, longer than they should. The air felt heavy between us, not like work anymore. More like standing on a line neither of us should cross, but neither wanted to move away from. Her hand, still resting close, curled just slightly, as if resisting the impulse to close the space between our fingers. And then, the sound of footsteps echoed in the hall. Quick, careless, breaking the moment. We both turned, a little too fast, as the office door creaked open. The footsteps faded, and whoever had passed by didn't come in. She let out a quiet breath, almost like a laugh, but softer, more tired. "You should go home," she said, but the words lacked conviction. I nodded, though I didn't move. My eyes followed her as she crossed to the window, drawing the blinds halfway. Evening light slipped across her shoulders, golden, gentle. Her silhouette reminded me of something I shouldn't think about, my first memory of her in that office. The day I met her. The way she carried herself, precise but never cold. Back then, I'd thought, she's the kind of woman who never gets lonely. But now, watching her, I wasn't so sure. She had mentioned once, in passing, in the kind of guarded tone that tells you not to ask further, that her marriage had ended years ago. No children. "Work keeps me busy enough," she'd said, brushing it aside. I didn't press, but I remembered the way her eyes had drifted to the window then, as if she'd been elsewhere. Tonight, with the empty office around us, that same faraway look returned. I pretended to shuffle my papers, but truth was, I couldn't stop looking at her. The line of her jaw, the way she pressed her lips together when thinking. I caught myself staring and dropped my gaze quickly. Too quickly. She turned, catching me in the act. For a heartbeat, neither of us said anything. Then she smiled, faint, knowing. Careful, she said. People might think you're studying me. I swallowed. Maybe I am. The words slipped out before I could stop them. My ears burned. Her smile faltered, not in disapproval, but as if the air had shifted. She took one slow step closer, then another, until she was standing beside my desk. Her hand came down, lightly resting on my shoulder. It was casual enough to pass as nothing, but the warmth of her touch seeped through the fabric of my shirt. You're too young to waste time staring at people like me, she murmured, half a joke, half a warning. I wanted to tell her she was wrong, that age didn't change the way her presence made the air feel charged, alive. But my throat tightened. Instead, I sat there, too still, letting her hand linger longer than it should have. She noticed. Her fingers curled slightly, as though testing the weight of the moment, before she pulled back. The space between us felt louder than words. Go home, she repeated, softer this time, almost whispering. I stood, gathering my bag, but my eyes found hers again. Neither of us looked away right away. She held me there, not as a boss, not as untouchable, but as something else. When I finally walked past her, she shifted, just enough that her sleeve brushed against my arm. Barely a touch, but deliberate. And though she didn't turn, I caught the faintest smile in the glass of the window. The next evening, she asked me to stay behind. Not directly, not like an order. Just a quiet, if you have a moment after, I'd like your thoughts on something. Her tone was neutral, but I heard what wasn't said. By the time the office cleared, the air was different, too still, too charged. She stood by the filing cabinet, papers in hand, but her attention wasn't on them. She set them down without reading, smoothing the edges twice, then turning toward me. I tried to keep busy, but every second felt like it was dragging. Sit, she said finally, gesturing toward the sofa against the wall. I obeyed, and she joined me, closer than she needed to. Our knees almost touched. I could smell her perfume, faint and familiar. It made my throat tighten. She leaned forward to show me a report, but her voice wavered slightly, softer than usual. I nodded along, though I barely registered the words. I was too aware of her shoulder brushing mine, the warmth of her body radiating inches away. A silence stretched. My hand rested on the sofa, and hers shifted, not away, but nearer. Close enough that one careless movement would close the gap. I thought she might do it. I thought I might. And then, the sharp buzz of her phone on the desk shattered the stillness. We both startled, too quick, as if caught. She reached for it, glancing at the screen. Her lips pressed tight, unreadable. Then she turned it face down, leaving it unanswered. Sorry, she said, though her voice was thin. I shook my head quickly. It's fine. But the tension remained. Maybe stronger. Her eyes found mine again, searching, almost staring me. My chest pounded. I leaned a fraction closer without meaning to. She didn't move away. For one suspended moment, our faces were inches apart. Her breath brushed my cheek, warm, quick, unsteady. I shouldn't, she whispered. The words were a door closing. But her body didn't move. Her hand lifted, hesitated, then lightly touched my sleeve, barely there, but enough to stop my breath. I froze, torn between the urge to close the distance and the fear of what it would mean. If anyone walked in, if anyone saw, it wouldn't just be scandal. It would be ruin. For her. For me. And yet I couldn't move back. Neither could she. The room felt too small, the silence too heavy. Her hand lingered on my arm, and I felt the tremor in her fingers. My lips parted, ready to say something. I didn't even know what. Then, from the hall, voices carried, laughter, footsteps approaching. We both snapped apart, but not far. She pressed a finger lightly against my sleeve, holding me there, as if to anchor the moment even as the door handle rattled. The voices faded, and the door never opened. Relief washed over me, but it left something else too, something sharper. When her eyes met mine again, there was no pretense left. Just closeness. Dangerous, undeniable closeness. And neither of us moved out. I don't know what changed that night. Maybe it was the way she lingered when everyone else had gone. Maybe it was the wineglass on her desk, half finished from some earlier meeting, the red catching the lamplight. Or maybe it was just that I couldn't hold it in anymore. She sat across from me, reviewing a file, her brow drawn in concentration. I was supposed to be helping, but I couldn't look at the words. My eyes kept drifting to the curve of her neck, the strand of hair that had slipped loose and fallen against her cheek. I caught myself staring again. This time, I didn't look away fast enough. She noticed. Her lips parted as if to speak, then pressed closed. A long silence followed, the kind that fills every corner of a room. Finally, she set the folder down, folding her hands together in her lap. "You can't keep looking at me like that," she said quietly. Her voice was steady, but her fingers betrayed her, pressing too tightly, knuckles pale. "I'm sorry," I whispered, though I didn't sound sorry. I sounded desperate. Her eyes flicked up to mine, sharp, searching. "Do you even know what you're doing?" "No," I admitted, shaking my head. My pulse thundered. "But I can't stop." Her breath caught, barely audible. She looked away, then back again, as though fighting herself. I leaned forward before I could stop myself. My hand rose, hesitated, then brushed that loose strand of hair back from her face. My fingertips grazed her cheek, soft, warm. She stilled. Completely. "You shouldn't," she breathed, but she didn't move away. "I know." My voice was low, rougher than I meant. For a suspended second, the world was only that touch, her skin beneath my fingers, her breath quick against my wrist. Then she leaned, ever so slightly, into my hand. It undid me. Her eyes fluttered shut for half a heartbeat, and when they opened, there was no shield left. Just want. Just fear. Just her. "I've tried to ignore this," she whispered, almost to herself. "You're too young. People would, I don't care." I cut in. Too fast. Too raw. She drew a sharp breath, as if my words had struck something inside her. Her hand came up, pressing lightly against my chest, not to push me away, but as though she needed to feel the proof of me, solid there. The space between us shrank, inch by inch. Her perfume enveloped me, her lips close enough that I could feel the ghost of her breath. Every part of me ached to close the gap. But just as I leaned forward, her phone buzzed violently on the desk. A call. Loud. Relentless. We both froze, breathless, suspended in the half-light, lips almost brushing, the line already crossed in every way except one. She didn't move to answer it. And I didn't move back. The phone finally stopped buzzing, leaving only the hum of the air conditioner and our ragged breathing. She exhaled slowly, pressing her hand harder against my chest as if to keep herself anchored. For a moment, I thought she might step back. Instead, she whispered, almost to herself, "They'll know." "Who?" My voice cracked in the quiet. Her eyes lifted to mine, guarded, haunted. "Everyone. This place, it's a fishbowl. You think no one notices, but they do." I wanted to tell her it wasn't true, that we were careful, but then she added, softer, "They already ask questions." Something dropped in my stomach. "Questions?" She nodded, her lips pressing tight. "About you. About why I keep you close. Why I trust you with things I don't give anyone else." She paused, the words heavy. "They think I favor you." The revelation stung more than it should. I'd thought our secret glances, the pauses, the closeness had been invisible. But if others already suspected, then every lingering look carried risk, every brush of her hand against mine became evidence. Still, I couldn't let go. "And do you?" I asked, too blunt. Her eyes widened. The faintest tremor moved through her hand still resting against me. She didn't answer right away. "I shouldn't," she whispered finally, as though the words cost her something. "But you do." My voice was low, certain, a confession wrapped in challenge. She shut her eyes briefly, and when she opened them again, something in her face had cracked. God help me, yes. The air left my lungs. For weeks I'd been drowning in silence, wondering if it was only me, if I was imagining it. And now the truth was laid bare between us. I didn't move. Neither did she. But her hand slid slightly down my chest, fingertips grazing through the fabric, trembling. That tiny movement held more weight than a kiss. She pulled back an inch then, as though the admission terrified her. She turned sharply, brushing past me toward the desk. The edge of her sleeve grazed my arm, too intimate for an accident. Her back was to me now, shoulders stiff, her voice shaking. This can't happen, she said louder than before. But the crack in her tone betrayed her. I stepped closer, too close, drawn like a magnet. My hand hovered just above her shoulder, not touching, but near enough that she would feel my warmth. I don't believe you, I murmured. Her breath hitched audibly. She turned her head slightly, eyes catching mine over her shoulder. The distance between us felt unbearable, every second, every inch charged with everything we weren't saying. And then she did something I didn't expect. She closed her eyes, as if bracing herself, and whispered, "Then don't." The words hung in the air like a match against dry wood. That was her decision, or maybe her surrender. And it pushed us both toward the inevitable. Her words, "Then don't," clung to the air, fragile and dangerous, like a dare she didn't mean to give but couldn't take back. I stood frozen behind her, close enough to smell her perfume, to see the faint tremor in her shoulders. My hand hovered above her arm, useless with hesitation. I could feel the line between us, razor thin, begging to be crossed. "Tell me to leave," I whispered. My voice was unsteady, thick with something I couldn't hide. She didn't answer. Her silence was louder than anything. Slowly she turned, facing me fully now. Her eyes searched mine, not as a boss, not as someone older and untouchable, but as a woman stripped bare of excuses. Vulnerable, afraid, wanting. My chest rose and fell too fast. "If we do this, we can't take it back," she finished, her voice breaking on the last word. The room was too small for both of us, and the weight of that truth. I took half a step closer, our bodies almost touching, the heat of her skin radiating through the space between. My hand rose again, this time brushing against her jaw, my thumb grazing the soft line of her cheek. Her breast shuddered. She leaned into the touch, just slightly, but enough. "I've tried to fight this," she whispered. "So have I." For a suspended heartbeat, either of us moved further. Our lips hovered, not quite touching, every nerve screaming. The office around us faded. No desk, no papers, no rules, just the unbearable nearness of her. And then she made the choice. Her hand rose to my collar, gripping lightly, pulling me closer until the space dissolved. Her lips met mine, tentative at first, then deeper, as if something long damned had finally given way. The kiss was messy, unpracticed, desperate. It wasn't perfect, it was too real, too full of the weight we'd carried, the risk, the hunger. Her fingers trembled against me, and mine pressed into her back as though I couldn't let her go if I tried. When we finally pulled apart, breathless, she kept her forehead against mine. Her eyes closed, her voice low, shaking. "We can't pretend anymore." I nodded, swallowing hard. "I don't want to." Her lips curved, just slightly, not quite a smile, more like surrender. She exhaled, long and uneven, as though relief and fear had tangled together inside her. In that moment, everything was clear. We had crossed the line. There was no going back. But there was no more doubt either. She wanted me. And I wanted her. And for the first time, we both stopped pretending otherwise. For a long time after the kiss, we just stood there, pressed close, as if letting go too soon might undo everything. The office was quiet, but my heartbeat was too loud in my ears, and I knew hers was no steadier. When she finally pulled back, it wasn't far. Her hand lingered on my chest, her eyes steady on mine. Not a boss, not untouchable, just her. This isn't simple," she said. Her voice was soft, hesitant, but not retreating. I've spent years being careful. Too careful. And now. She shook her head, searching for the words. And now you're not, I said gently. Her lips curved faintly, a half-smile born from exhaustion and relief. You make it sound easy. It doesn't have to be easy, I murmured. My hand found hers, hesitant at first, then firm when she didn't pull away. Our fingers intertwined naturally, like they'd been waiting for the chance. It just has to be real. She studied me then, really studied me, as if weighing every risk against what she already knew she couldn't ignore. For the first time, I didn't look away. The fight in her softened. She exhaled, a long, trembling breath, and leaned forward until her forehead rested against mine. The contact was simple, human, grounding. I've been afraid, she admitted, voice barely above a whisper. Afraid of what people will think. Afraid of wanting something I told myself I couldn't have. I closed my eyes, holding her hand tighter. I've been afraid you'd never let yourself want me. Her breath caught at that, a small sound against my cheek. And then, slowly, she laughed. Not mocking, not sharp, but soft, like something breaking free. I do, she said simply. More than I should. More than I planned. The warmth of her words settled deep in me, stronger than any fear. I wrapped my arms around her then, pulling her into a long, unhurried embrace. She didn't resist. She melted into it, her cheek against my shoulder, her hands curling into my shirt as if she finally allowed herself to rest. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't without consequence. But it was ours. We stayed like that, either rushing, either speaking, until the silence stopped feeling heavy and started feeling safe. Eventually, she leaned back just enough to meet my eyes again. Her hand rose, brushing my hair back with a tenderness that undid me more than any kiss. Whatever happens, she said softly, we'll figure it out. Together. I nodded, smiling despite the weight of it all. Together. Her lips found mine once more, slower this time, deliberate. Less desperate, more certain. And when we finally pulled away, she didn't let go of my hand. For the first time, the distance between us was gone, and neither of us wanted it back. Sparkles, did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next?